you can be colored but not too much, because then if you're too much, then you're like a threat. Even for me in my personal life, walking into the workplace and being outspoken, like the minute that I'm often seen as a threat. And so watching your season and seeing people either like glamorize certain individuals or villainize certain individuals, I don't know like where it comes from, but I feel like the people that are villainizing or glamorizing are actually the biggest villains into this. And so, right? And I think it's just like super sad to see. And so what was that experience for you?
It was very heavy, because like, how do you navigate what's happening in real time and what's going to be aired, you know? But I don't know, you just trust your gut and trust that you're here for a purpose, and it's for a bigger change, even though it really hurts right now. Like, I think coming off of my original season, it really was hard, because I would not care what people thought about me. But when I was just going into it hoping that I would have Asian community out of this, and at least if all else fails, at least I have my people, you know, and they were even hating me. And it was just like, it's like, who do I belong to now? You know, like what community do I belong to now? So I think that the show is dramatized more on women. That's why Bachelor is more popular than Bachelorette for like viewing purposes, because it's just entertaining, you know? Like, look at the hot mess that we used to watch in Jersey Shore, you know, like literally a hot mess. It's fun to watch, it's entertaining, but I still feel very not connected to, misunderstood from Bachelor Nation, just because I am probably the only full prominent Asian character that they have on the franchise, and I'm hoping to change that, you know, like hoping that my experience can be shared so they're comfortable with signing up for the show too, because I think that's super important to have that. I mean, look at this last season, I think all the other Asian characters were sent home early.
Yeah, because I struggle to sometimes vocalize. I have every right to speak my truth and being like, hey, like, I feel like this is a gap. I want to talk about it. And the first time I ever started, my voice was like super shaky. My hands were like super shaky and my heart was beating so fast. And then it got better as I kept doing it and practicing that and seeing that doing this is actually not only going to help me, but it's going to help a whole community. And so what is your advice working in like an industry that unwelcomes people like us?
Oh man, this reminds me of the time when I worked for an insurance company. It was a very big name insurance company, and I was 19. I was young and like naive, but as soon as I got my license, I was one of the top agents, you know? And it's like difficult to see, because I'm winning these awards and I walk into a room and it's just all middle-aged men that are accepting the same awards as well. So it's like, who am I?
Right.
Like, who are you? You know, like, what do you do? But it's almost very empowering, because you know what? Like, let's beat the norms. And again, society helps people like white men push forward very easily, but it's really hard. So like, for me to also get there too, it took me a lot of work. It'll probably always take me extra work more than everyone else that is not a minority. But like the work, blood, sweat, and tears that you put into it, like, I think it means so much more to me than it is to someone who was pushed to succeed, you know? But I don't know, just have the hard conversations, be outspoken, because if you're not and you're going to stay meek and mild, then you're only hurting yourself and people who are going to follow behind you.
When you leave the show and that's like over, the amount of like growth and like learning abilities that you have is just, I just assume that it's going to be like so empowering to just be like, I went on the show, and then, you know.
It's empowering if you use it in the right way, because some people will really dwell on it, and like, let's be very transparent here. Every season is always going to have various villains. That's what makes entertainment, you know? Whether they're actually like terrible people in real life, or whether it was just a situation, you know? So I think what you do with the information afterwards really will be telling on who you are as a character, where you are in your growth process, because I guess people would say I was painted as a quote-unquote villain, even though there's multiple villains on my season. But
weird too.
People call me the biggest villain because I was the most stand out, because I was the only Oriental villain.
Right.
You know? But I took a lot of like reflecting, you know, like, I know that person is not entirely me, the way it was portrayed. What I saw in that was I was a person that always will never back down, always stands up for my friends, and you know, is a spitfire. That's exactly who I am, you know? But what I didn't like seeing is like the conflict and the drama and like maybe how I coped with things and like dealt with conflict. So I used that like the last year. Good thing COVID happened, because like that was really a long time for me to reflect of the season that just happened, just to see how I can better myself.
Yeah.
Nothing was wrong with me in the first place, but we can always better ourselves, and using little information and little experiences to help become a better version of ourselves is what I try to aim for.
Even it goes back just in general in life, like when you go through something that's, whether it was traumatic, whether it was a bad experience, I think like, or a good experience too, and you learn something from that. What you take from those lessons and what you create afterwards is really what matters. And I think like even like with the Black Lives Matter movement, that made me want to create this podcast. And that was the first time I ever like acknowledged that I was Black and I was really brown and I was embodying both identities. And I think it's one of those like magical, there's just like so much magic when you take trauma and you create something like really amazing, you know?
It's like one of my favorite things, because I feel like I have a lot of trauma, but
I do.
I mean, I feel like we all do, you know? But again, like it's what you do with it.